You're listening to the Uplevel Your Online Business Show, where wealth is empowering, purpose is crucial, and high vibes are non-negotiable. And now, here's your host, certified business coach and practical woo strategist, Sarah J. Loureiro.
All right, welcome to another episode of the Uplevel Your Online Business Show. It's Sarah here. I always get so excited on podcast recording days because I have so many ideas that flow through me. Every single experience that I have in business, you guys know that I am always here to share them with you. And this episode is going to be all about exactly what money can buy you, and more specifically, how to understand what income goal you actually want to bring yourself to, or how you want to measure your income. What are exactly the metrics that you want to evaluate within your desires to have a bigger income, and whether or not it's worth it. So truly, I know that so many people have income goals in their heads, but we're going to talk about why. What is the intention behind that income for you? And is that intention an intention that you carry from your internal being, or is that an external validation? And I think a lot of people don't want to make more money because they think that making more money is going to be an external validation point. And what they don't realize is there's so many more internal reasons for you to be making more money in your business. And I want to inspire you to think bigger. So let's get started. The first thing that I think is super helpful to talk about, just to get you expanded in your consciousness right now, is all of the things that money can buy you. And this just completely lights me up because I never grew up with money, and now I have money, and now I have more money than what I would technically need to live and even live the lifestyle that I want to live. And so this is where money starts to get very interesting. And I want all of you to experience this. And truly, the only reason why I am experiencing this is because I grew and scaled my passion business. And I grew and scaled it to a place where I feel really, really comfortable with the life that I'm living. I'm very, very grateful for it. And at the same time, I grew my business to a place where I didn't necessarily need the money that I was making. And this is a choice. And this is something that I'm really, really passionate about teaching, because aside from teaching coaches how to make more money and how to grow and expand in their businesses and how to create more time freedom, I'm also very, very passionate about really spending your money on what actually matters to you. And I had a very hard time initially with the coaching industry because it only felt like everything that people were spending money on were things that I didn't really value, like designer clothes, and designer and first class life type experiences. And so I thought that by making more money, that's what I would start to do. And it didn't really align with me. I didn't really identify with it. I was like, sure, yeah, I could do some of those things. But in all honesty, once I started doing some of those things, I was like, this doesn't actually make me feel better. And this doesn't really add more to my life than the 4-star hotels that I was going to before, right? And once you get to experience the thing that you think that you really want to have with money, that's when you start to understand oh, that didn't really make me happier. Okay, well then what does? Because clearly having more will increase your happiness levels, but with very different context, I think, than what we're used to seeing online. And especially with the female coaching industry, I think it's just so rampant where people are like, I had an 100K launch, therefore I'm going to go out to the Louis Vuitton store and I'm going to buy myself something new there because that's just the quintessential thing that you do when you make more money. And all the power to the people who really do feel luxurious and highly valued in those ways. But for me, it just never really clicked. And so I want to tell you what has clicked for me in the hopes of having you understand and decide what it is that's going to click for you. And of course, I've had mentors who have multiple designer bags. They only travel first class, and they were traveling first class when they were making the money that I'm making now. And even now I'm like, it doesn't really appeal to me. It's still, I still don't feel like I'm at that level in my business where it's just like, oh yeah, that's just second nature to me. And I've heard this from a lot of my clients too, where they're just like, well, I want to make 10K months, but I don't need to make 20K months, or I don't need to make 30K months. And they're just like, it's just not a value. It's not a necessity for me. Why do I need that extra money? And I'm here to tell you why you could potentially need that extra money and what potentially that extra money can do for you. And I want to share some of these things that might not be materialistic. And I really do feel like the people who are the loudest online are the people who you're seeing who have like the visual metrics of success. And so because the online space is so visual, that's all you get to see. And truly wealthy people and like very, very wealthy people, a lot of them don't actually buy into the material metrics of wealth. There's so much more that goes into wealth, and there's so much more that goes into successful people and how they spend it. And what I've come to understand for myself is I truly value, so one of the very first things that I truly value and that has made a world of a difference in my life is my time freedom. And by time freedom, one thing that I really think that just kind of brought things up a notch was hiring house help. And hiring house help, not just in like having a cleaning person, we always call them cleaning ladies, cleaning person coming in once a week or coming in twice a week. I'm talking like full on help. And I am very fortunate that in Nicaragua, it's actually very affordable to hire someone as a full-time housekeeper. And that has just been a complete game changer. However, knowing the value that this woman has contributed to my life and to my time freedom, I would hands down, if I was living back home, I would hands down hire someone to come in for help at least 2 times a week at a minimum. And so if you think about it, there's so much of our daily lives when we're in the 9-to-5 grinds and when we're kind of like in the matrix of what everyone else deems to be success, where we're like, okay, on Saturdays, I have to do my laundry, fold my laundry, put away my laundry, clean my house, wash the dishes. Then on Sundays, I do all of this meal prep. Imagine not having to do any of those things because someone else is already doing them for you. That is time leverage. And so I know then I get some people who are like, oh, but I actually really enjoy doing those things. And I understand that because I also enjoy doing some of these things. So I enjoy cooking, even though I have someone else who cooks for me. And I wouldn't say that I enjoy doing laundry, but sometimes I do enjoy, washing the dishes and making sure that my room looks spotless and organize things and making my bed. There's sometimes that I truly do enjoy that, but it's sometimes. I think when it's the daily necessity and the weekly necessity to do something that really does end up wearing you out. And so I love the choice of whether or not I am going to cook a meal, and also having the choice to have a full-time housekeeper who is going to make my meals. And so when I was thinking about moving back to Canada, my husband and I actually spoke about this, and we were like, well, we're not going to go back and live the exact same life that we lived before. Like that's just not happening. Because now that we know how good it is to live the life that we have, now we're actually going to be so much more careful with our own time freedom if we ever were to move back home. And one of the biggest things that we talked about was we're still going to have some sort of a housekeeper, whether or not they come in, twice a week or more than that. But we're not going to be doing the cleaning. We're not going to be folding the laundry. We are probably also not going to be doing all of the food prep. We are going to be paying out to do all of those things because, and this was a very important conversation that we had, and I think this is a really important conversation for anyone to have, but especially families, is would you rather be spending all of your time washing your dishes and folding your laundry and cleaning your house? Or would you rather be spending that time going to the park with your kid, or going to the zoo, or showing them something new, or maybe going out to dinner as a family where you don't have to worry about washing the dishes, getting really amazing, clean food for your family where you're not going to have to worry about the things that are going to happen, 10, 20 years down the line when you're not eating natural, whole foods. And these are some of the things that we don't think about because all we see is the vanity metrics on the internet, on social media. The very expensive dresses, the shoes, the purses, the first class lifestyle. And you get to design your own version of a first class lifestyle. And I really do feel like one of the main key points there is the leverage of your own time. And it's especially the leverage of your own time in your own home. Because for the amount of time that I'm not spending mopping my floors, sweeping my floors, making a lot of my food, cleaning my washrooms, that I don't necessarily have to give to someone else. Like maybe there's some days, and yes, there are 2 days out of the week where I don't have a housekeeper. And so I get to do some of those things. And I enjoy doing those things when I have the choice of whether or not I have to do them. And I think that that is just so important. And there's nothing nicer and better for your brain, by the way, than having a very clean, well-kept house. But in order for you to do that on your own, you need to make that a priority. But you can't make a priority having a nice, clean, well-kept house and have your priority be your children and have your priority be your business, right? That's very conflicting priorities there. But if you can hire someone else out to have them prioritize those things that you don't actually want to put as number one, gives you so much more leverage with your time. And I think that that is such a beautiful thing that so many people don't realize is that time leverage that more money buys you, that isn't something that can be seen by other people, but it's something that you feel. And what you can feel is so much more valuable than what someone else can see in terms of the way that you decide to spend your wealth. Now, going in with the whole idea or continuing with the whole idea of time freedom, another really, really amazing thing that money has been able to buy me is having team members on my virtual team who can do things for me where I don't need to do those things anymore. I don't need to upload calls. I don't need to do graphics for my social media posts anymore. Heck, if I even wanted to have someone else to write my social media posts, I could do that too. I virtually hire out almost every single job that I have in my company. And the reason why I've done that over the years, and I choose to do that, and I choose to profit a little bit less, is because I don't want to be working 40 hours a week. I don't want to be working, 50 or 60 hours a week either. And I definitely don't want to be working anything more than about 35 hours a week would probably be my maximum. And there's some weeks where I only want to work 20, 25 hours a week. And so if I'm going to have a bigger business, and if I'm going to want to have more money, but then also be able to have more time freedom, I need to understand how to leverage my team. I need to understand how to leverage my own time in terms of my skill sets and in terms of the skill sets that my company needs. And so that's another really amazing thing that money has been able to buy me. And sure, I could be working 50 hours a week, and I could be, by doing that, taking away someone else on my team, taking away their 10-hour a week job or taking away their 15-hour a week job that I'm paying them a few $1,000s a month to do. So I could be saving those few $1,000s a month, right? But I don't want to be saving those few $1,000s a month, because by leveraging having other people on my team, then I can actually make more money than if I was doing things on my own. And then I free up 15 hours of work for myself a week. And within those 15 hours of work, I can listen to podcasts. I can go to the beach. I live right beside the beach now. I can go to the beach. I can book myself some flights to go somewhere else. And I can just leverage so much more of my time for things that are even more enjoyable for me. That's what money has been able to buy me. And that is something that I'm just so grateful for. I have been traveling extensively over the past 2 years. I never thought that I would travel this much in my life, except for, I guess, when I thought that I was going to be nomadic. But especially having a home base, I have been traveling on average once every 6 to 8 weeks outside of the country. And being able to do that and being able to be like, yeah, I'm going to stay at a hotel. I'm going to, I literally last night just booked some flights to Los Angeles. I'm going to be heading over there in May for a mastermind and super, super excited about that. Didn't have to think twice about where I was going to stay. I got to choose the place that I wanted to stay at. So I want to be in Santa Monica. I've been to Los Angeles before. I've seen all of the different places that I could stay. I want to stay by the beach. I like Santa Monica. I no longer have to think, well, I should really choose the hotel that's 50% off. I should really choose the hotel that's a little bit more inland because it's cheaper. Or I should really stay in this other area because that other area is a lot less expensive. I don't have to think about that anymore. That is what money has been able to buy me. And that is amazing. Now, here's the flip side to that. I've also realized for myself that I don't need to stay in the most expensive hotels in Santa Monica. That just doesn't create a desire within me. It's not something that I necessarily want to spend my money on right now. So I think the beautiful part of this is having that choice and allowing yourself to make choices without having any nervous system dysregulation, because you just feel so calm and comfortable around money that it's just like, yeah, that's where I want to stay. That's fine. It's not going to break the bank for me. Perfect. Where do I book my flight? And I've come to understand that for me, I started doing this slowly. And so even when I wasn't traveling a lot outside of country and I was only traveling in Nicaragua, I started experimenting with these things for myself as well. And I started asking myself, okay, well, what's the difference between the $50 a night hotel and the $90 a night hotel? There's a big difference. For me personally, there's a very big difference between the $50 a night and the $90 a night. The $90 night hotels are really nice. $50, not necessarily. You're probably not going to get your air conditioning. You're probably not going to get a really nice view. You're probably not going to get a really great pool. In what I've come to find is I have a certain threshold for what it is that I need in terms of comfort that money also allows me to buy, right? Because $90 a night is almost double the price of a $50 a night hotel here. But I choose that. And I choose that because I can. Because I have been able to get to a place in my life where I chose to go after these desires versus being like, well, I don't need to stay at hotels at all. Or I don't need to travel. I don't actually need that extra money to travel. I don't need to have someone else to put away my laundry. I don't need someone else to do my food prep for me, right? Have you ever told yourself those things? Well, I don't really need that. I don't really need to go on more holidays. Or maybe for you it was I don't really need to buy a Gucci bag. I bought my very first designer bag in Milan in 2022. We were there for a week, and I was terrified of buying anything designer because I was just like, what if one day I don't have any money and then I just spent my money on something so silly? And that's what I thought at the time, because I was just like, well, I don't really see the value of it. But I also had a desire to do it. And one of my biggest desires to do it was just to understand the experience of it. And so I just wanted to do it at least once, understand the experience of it. And then if, it didn't really do much for me, then fine. If it was something where I was like, oh my God, I love designer goods, then I'd probably be back there over and over and over again and buying more and more designer goods that I can truly appreciate and value for myself. And what I found through that experience was that I loved the experience. I went into Gucci. I looked at everything that they had. I decided on a specific bag that I still have and I really highly value and appreciate. I brought it back. I did the unboxing. Everything was super nice and I loved it, but I don't feel like I need to have that experience over and over and over again. And that was a really great deciding moment and factor for me. Is I'm not judging other people for doing it, but I tried it out for myself. And I decided for myself that I don't think that that's something that I'm going to be doing very regularly. And I know that there are other people who absolutely love it and absolutely love going to designer places, buying a new bag. As soon as they hit a specific income mark in their businesses, they buy themselves something new just to celebrate themselves for it. And I think I love that. I think that that is so, so great. I just don't think that that's me. And it doesn't mean that I'm never going to buy designer ever again, but I think one thing that I also realized in buying that bag was that it didn't break the bank, you guys. I wasn't broke afterwards. My business didn't go downhill afterwards. In fact, it started going up and up and up, and it keeps on increasing. And it was a really, really great reminder for me that I can have nice things and I can afford nice things, and nothing's going to happen to me if I decide to overindulge, or what I would have considered to be overindulge in myself. And it was a really beautiful experience. And so if you do have the opportunity to do that for yourself, and if you've ever wondered what it's like to actually go into one of those stores and buy something, I mean, some things are only like $500 or $1,000. And so if you're already making a good amount of money in your business or in your life, that's not going to break the bank for you, right? We spend so much money on so many other things in our lives that you know that that's not going to be something that is going to, really like set you back. And I know for all of my ladies who are in my programs, I know that each and every one of them could probably do that and nothing would happen to them financially, where that would be like a huge, huge setback. But so many of us just really hold ourselves back from experiencing those really high value things because we feel like we don't deserve it. And a lot of what money can buy you ultimately is like helping you see that sense of worthiness that you already have, helping you see that you are deserving of these things. And money is just energy, right? So it's what you allow yourself to pour that energy into, whether it's pouring it into a nice, luxurious thing for you, and a material thing, or pouring it into the luxury of having more free time. And I think ultimately for me, my biggest value has been the free time part. Now, here's where it also gets really interesting, because I love investments. I love investing. And I think that ever since I was little, I was an investor. I don't know if anyone remembers Neopets, but I killed it at Neopets. This was like, I don't know if anyone's going to understand this reference. You have to let me know if you do. But I would go on my Neopets site, when I was a tween, and I would I would leverage everything off of that site. I loved it. I loved the investing opportunities. I loved the ability to see okay, where am I going to put my money next? What can I buy? What am I going to buy? What is, what are the next pets that I really want? And when you have more money in your adult life, you can also have that type of leverage in terms of your assets and your asset allocations. And I think the really, really cool thing about this, and especially when you can take your eyes off of all of the material values of having more money, you can really start to play with financial freedom. And financial freedom can come in so many different forms. And you just need to figure out which one is the one that makes you feel the most excited. If it's, understanding the stock market and understanding investments in the stock market, or if it's investing in real estate. And I've come to understand that for myself, I really enjoy real estate. It's something that really, really lights me up. And having more money allows me to invest in more real estate that in turn then helps me with my overall financial freedom in my own life. So that if I ever wanted to stop my business today and start a completely new business tomorrow, I wouldn't be starting from zero. I'm not broke, right? I'm not living paycheck to paycheck because I'm just spending my money. It's the opportunity to give yourself so many more choices, I think, that money truly allows you to do. And when people tell me well, I don't really need any more money, I just kind of look at them and I take the step back and I'm like, really? Are you sure about that? Because imagine how much more you could do. Imagine how much more freely you could spend your time. And imagine how much more you can leverage your time and give yourself and your family so many more options and choices when you do have more money. And I think that some people just don't understand more beyond that superficial aspect of what money can do because we've never been shown it and we don't know what we don't know. So if we've never seen the other side of not living paycheck to paycheck or not living just below our means, we don't really understand all of the different avenues of what's possible when we have more. And that's ultimately what I love to play with. Is I love having a little bit more than what I need, because then that gives me more creativity in terms of how I can leverage my own time more and how I can truly just build more of an empire for myself and for my family. And of course, then that also comes down to my clients, because anything that I learn in my life, I get to teach. I get to translate and I get to better the lives of other people as well, which is really, really amazing. And I think it's just such a great way to live a purpose-driven life. So out of everything that I've said, I'd love to hear from you which ones you resonate the most with. What are the things that you feel like, oh yeah, that's definitely the thing that I'd love to spend more money on or leverage with money. And what I always do with my clients, especially with my more advanced clients who are already making 10K a month and want to make more, I get them to do an exercise because let's face it, in this day and age, a 6-figure income is really not going to give you like a luxurious lifestyle by any means. 6-figure income is it's a little bit higher than a standard, which is great. But in order for you to get something that's like really, really comfortable, you need to think beyond the 6 figures. And what I usually get my clients to do is do an exercise of how many things would you love to do this year? What would you love to have happen for you and your family? And so I get a whole bunch of different responses from clients. They'll be like, okay, well, this is how much I need to pay my bills. And this is how much I need to pay my mortgage or my rent. But I'd really like to be living in this type of house. And if I was living in this type of house, I'd have this type of rent or I'd have this type of mortgage. And then what I'd also really love to be doing is traveling twice a year. And what I'd also love to be doing is investing in masterminds. And what I'd also love to be doing is investing in stocks. And then I'd also love to put my kids in private school. And so if you just do this brain dump of like, what are all of the desires that I would absolutely love to have within my life? Do that brain dump of all of those things, plus all of the money that you need to pay your bills and what all of the bills entail. You'll find, and I find that for most of my clients, the number that they get at once they do all of those things in that exercise is around $25,000 to $30,000 a month. With between $25,000 and $30,000 a month, they can already do everything that they want to do. And that is including business expenses, which is another topic in and of itself, is making sure that your business is profitable, but also understanding that your business needs money on a monthly basis to operate. And so once they do all of these calculations, including business expenses, they get to around $25,000 to $30,000 a month. And then there you go. That's a very nice, comfy salary for yourself. You're making around $300,000 a year. That's great. I personally choose to make more than that because I have like other goals. And once you get to that point, then you're going to ask yourself, well, what next? What else can I do? What else can I achieve? What else can I accomplish? And it's really interesting once you get to each one of these set points, because it's all energetic, then you start to realize, oh, well, this is just the tip of the iceberg. And then you get to another one, you're like, well, this is just the tip of the iceberg. And then you get to the next one, you're like, well, this is just the tip of the iceberg. And it's not necessarily never being grateful or never being enough. It's more of a, well, how else can I break my glass ceiling? How else can I do things that I didn't think were possible before? And I think that's one of the most beautiful things of what money can buy you is opportunity, is the opportunity of choice. That is the biggest thing, if I could sum it up in like one sentence, the opportunity of choice. It's huge. So if you think about it, you no longer have to submit to specific things. You get to choose. If you have all the money that you would ever want, you get to choose so many different things about your life. You get to choose where you live. You get to choose what car you drive. You get to choose how much time you have off. You get to choose how much you work around your house. You get to choose how much work you do in your business. You get to choose what holidays you go on. You get to choose what type of hotels you want to go to. You get to choose how much time you spend with your family. Do you see how it buys you choices? And those choices are going to be dictated by your internal values. And that's only something that you can define for yourself. No one else can define that for you. So if your internal value is, I want to spoil myself and I want to go to Louis Vuitton, then do it. That is your internal value. That is your internal desire. And that's something that you need to validate for yourself. If your internal value is, I just want to backpack and go camping around my country, but only work 10 hours a week, that's what money and the power of choice will allow you to do as well. And so I want you to really think about that for yourself. And hopefully this has inspired you to understand that absolutely you could totally leverage more of your time and give yourself more freedom if you were making more money. And there's always a reason to do it. So if you enjoyed this episode, I would love to hear what you think. You can always message me at Sarah without an H, J, Loureiro. So Sarah J. Loureiro on Instagram. Usually at sarahjloureiro.com or anything else, any other avenues that you want to connect with me on. I'd love to hear what you thought about this episode. If you love the episode, please share it with a friend. You can hit like or subscribe, and I will see you guys next time. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for listening to the Uplevel Your Online Business Show. If you enjoy our show and would like the show notes and free goodies about how to grow your online coaching business, head over to sarahjloureiro.com for more information. We hope you'll tune in next time.